So guys, in my earlier videos, we have talked about what exactly is a startup. We have talked about the funding stages of a startup. We have talked about what are the instruments the startups use to raise money. Now, let's assume the funding is raised and the shareholders are here. There's something that we should discuss now. If you speak to people who work in startups or who are founders, you've probably heard, let's check the cap table. But the question is, what exactly is a cap table? And why is it so important for startups? Let's break it down in a simple way. Cap table is short for a capitalization table. It sounds fancy, but it's actually really simple. It's just a spreadsheet on Excel that shows who owns what percentage of the company. That's it. On one side, you have got all names: Asad, Mr. A, Miss B, Miss C, etc. All the people who own some equity in the company. And on the right-hand side, what it mentions is what are the number of shares they own and what is the percentage that they own. That's simply a cap table. So for example, let's visualize founder A owns 60%, founder B owns 30%, and early investor owns 10%. Boom, that's your cap table, clean and simple. But as the company raises more money in more rounds, that table changes drastically and it could become a gigantic monster. So how does it change? Let's say you raise $1 million from new investors. They put in the cash and in return, they get new shares. That means your ownership slice shrinks, or as investors like to call it, it dilutes. Dilution is covered in another video. For now, we'll stay on cap table. Maybe now your cap table looks like founder A 50%, founder B 25%, and investors 25%. It's the same company, it's the same pie, but the slices are now cut differently. Now, why is it important to maintain your cap table properly? Your cap table isn't just a spreadsheet of numbers. It tells the story of control and upside, who gets how much of the company's sold. Unless you have a properly maintained cap table, nobody's gonna know about it. It also tells you who gets to vote on key decisions, how much ownership founders still hold as they raise more funding, and whether there is enough equity set aside for employees in the option pool. We're gonna talk about Esop as well in one of my next videos. Investors, new investors especially, always look at the cap table first because it shows if the company is structured properly, if the management team is adequately incentivized, if the employees have enough Esop pool for them to stay in the company and to make it bigger and better. How do you manage the cap table? In the very beginning, cap table might just be a simple document, few rows, and it can live inside a spreadsheet easily, no problem. And honestly, that's fine when it's just few founders, a few angel investors, and that's it. But as you grow, multiple rounds happen. Safes, convertible notes, ESOP, and multiple other instruments show up. Spreadsheet simply gets messy and mistakes creep in, and that's why most startups eventually switch to a more dedicated software, be it Carta, Fully, Captable.io. There's so many out there. What's the benefit of using these systems or these softwares? Because everything updates automatically. When you raise a round, employees can log in and see their stock options, investors can get a clear professional view of your cap table, and you avoid any ugly surprises about who owns what. Now, what happens if you don't track it properly? If you don't manage your cap table properly, things can go absolutely bonkers very fast. I've seen founders who were shocked to realize they own way less than they thought because they weren't maintaining a cap table properly, and they thought they owned 70% of their company, but actually they owned, on a diluted basis, let's say 60% of the company. That's messy and it kills the trust. So just a quick recap. Cap table is just a record of who owns what in your startup. It starts simple on a spreadsheet but changes every time you raise money. It matters because it shows control, value, and upside. Tools like Carta, Fully, Captable.io make managing your cap table clean, simple, and mistake-free. So the next time somebody says, let's check the cap table, you know exactly what they mean. For my next video, I will dive into ESOP's employee stock option plans, why they are such a powerful tool, and for startups to attract talent. So hang on.